Sometimes when I'm thinking about us, before we got lost and we parted, back to back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight, but this time we're not safe and sound. Not safe and sound. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. Sometimes when I'm reasoning about us, I know you got me, it's so effortless. Back to back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight, but this time we're not safe and sound. Not safe and sound. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me?
Welcome everybody to the FPV News. We have got some FPV news for you.
It's true. It is Tuesday. And we've got FPV news coming up like we do every Tuesday or almost every Tuesday when we're around.
Yeah, it's true. We got some big stories today. I have a full video that I put together with my in-depth research into this iFlight drones in Russian military propaganda video. I recorded it today. It's going to editing. But obviously this is very newsworthy. And if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, hopefully you're at least intrigued by that little little summary.
Yeah. We'll also talk to you about an FAA video that came out a few days ago that shows us the remote ID feature that we expected, but maybe some people don't know is coming, and we hoped that maybe wasn't coming as hard as it looks like it will be.
Okay. I'm just going to let that whole sentence, and somebody's going to clip that.
All right, fair enough.
We get to see which has more bullshit in it: a Russian military drone propaganda video or an FAA remote ID video. Ooh. And other news items in the world of FPV for sure.
Sure.
Thank you guys for being here. We're going to start, though, as we always do, with some public service announcements, just to get a little palate cleanser for the news. Little things that, if they affect you, you definitely want to know about it because they're going to bite you in the butt. And the first one, there's only one today, right?
Yeah, only one today. Today we've got the Motor Wizard issues and some Dshot issues in 442. So if you flash 442 and you've tried to change your motor directions in the Motor Wizard, you may find that is not possible. as detailed in
Okay.
this issue and further discussion about this. In addition to that, it does seem like, there are some other comments in these PRs about things like extra error rates.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on a PR for 4.5 currently. So I'm not sure necessarily when this will get fixed. Like there's a 4.4 maintenance branch with it, there's a master with it, and there's PRs for both. So it will definitely be included in 4.5. I'm not sure about 4.4.3 or how that will go moving forward with the Dshot errors. But if you're seeing any of this stuff with your motors or funky stuff, definitely go back to 4.4.1 and make sure that that is still happening there, and then you can continue to troubleshoot other issues.
Yeah. Is it me, or have there been a lot of bugs in Betaflight recently? I mean, I guess there's always little bugs.
I'm gonna say a counter to that, which is that everybody complained about the 4.4 release period, like how long it took to get 4.4 out.
Okay, fair enough.
So I think,
but at least it was stable.
I think we kind of went the other way, where we're maybe a little faster than we were before, and now we're encountering a little bit of stuff that doesn't get caught in RCs the same way. At least that seems to be, I agree with you, that seems to be. We had some H7 issues in 4.4.0 and 4.4.1. We've seen this Dshot issue now in 4.4.2, and that's fairly major, So.
Yeah. The whole cloud build thing was a bit of it was a big thing. And it feels like there was some part of it that the devs decided should be pushed back on the manufacturers, because there's flight controllers and targets where like the gyro doesn't work or the barometer doesn't work. And the devs were like, hey, look, we're going to release this. And if it doesn't work, the manufacturer needs to fix it. It's like, okay, I kind of get that. But you got this Dshot problem. What was the problem in 4.4.1? Like SD cards don't work on H7s.
On H7s, and then and then on 4.4.0, H7s can't use ADC. I think. The thing.
And now we're just shooting the shit. But they're going to add this whole new processor, right? This new cheap processor.
Well, sure, yeah.
And there's going to be like new drivers and new peripherals, and I'm just not like inspired with confidence that this is all going to go smoothly.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. Yeah, well, we can hope it will, and hopefully they'll get these issues resolved. But we'll keep you updated.
Dominic Clifton in the chat says it's a total mess. In case kids out there who don't know who Dominic Clifton is, he's the original developer of CleanFlight, which Betaflight spun off of, and is still a major Betaflight. Well, I say still. He has been a major Betaflight contributor. He says he's been fixing bugs today, so I guess he still is a contributor. I wasn't sure if he kind of said this is all a bunch of nonsense and packed up and went home. I guess not. He says there's no good testing strategy. Well, I wouldn't know. I'm not a coder, but
yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
Let's get to our first major story of the day, which is iFlight in Russian military video. And I think what we should start, Blunty, is we should just show some of the video.
Sure.
So, is it this Sternenko?
No, the first one would be, I believe, the one you were looking for.
Did you find it on YouTube? Oh, no, that's that's the wrong one.
Well, that's the one from the Ukrainian person. So I don't know what we were looking for.
I am going to have to shoot. No, I don't want to show. I'm sorry. I thought we had. It's the wrong one. Let me grab the right link, which I have somewhere very handy.
Okay.
I hope. I thought it's a different Twitter link is the one that I wanted. I've got it right here. So this shows the original, the actual video. And should we get some sound in here as well? Sure, why not? So this is from Dshot Zlatko. I don't know. Oh, here we go. I don't know who this person is, but we should attribute this. I don't know the original source of this video, but when you watch it, you'll see pretty quickly why people freaked the fuck out. Here we go. Okay. Oh. Very intriguing. Got a Radio Master Zorro there.
Одна из партий дронов, собранных в рамках проекта «Оружие возмездия» и поступивших...
Oh, well, wait a second. What the hell is that?
Подразделение южной группировки
All right, we'll
войск.
show just a
Эти
little more of the
аппараты
video.
предназначены для уничтожения живой силы и техники противника. У нас
I
подготовлено
have no idea what this
достаточное
guy's saying. I
количество
don't speak.
расчетов боевых
I assume
дронов,
this is Russian.
необходимых для ежедневного поражения живой силы и техники противника, включая поставленную с западом. Враг будет разбит. Победа будет за нами.
All right. And then we cut to here, and I'm not going to show the actual combat footage because some people out there don't want to see that, and I'm not interested in forcing them to see that. But this caused quite an uproar.
Yeah, just to be clear, people are asking in the chat. Part of that is green screened, obviously, right?
Well, it's interesting you say that. So, okay, let's take that first. I reached out to Ren from Corridor Digital, Ren Weichman, who I worked with on a previous video where he put a Nerf gun on a drone. And I said, Ren, there are parts of this that look fake to me. Can you just, you're a visual effects artist, you're an expert, can you just give me your personal opinion? And he said, oh, I didn't put this in the video that I recorded because I didn't really ask him, okay, can I reference you? But just between us on the news, I'll tell it. He said he thinks it's legit, in short. He said at first he thought that the military guys looked like Unreal Engine assets, but the way that the guy puts the goggles down on his face, he said would be pretty much impossible to fake with like 3D assets. He said it basically the guys are real. And he said in most of the shots, the drones look real, but there are some shots which have like really weird perspective. Like these shots and what he guessed was that they shot these guys with a long telephoto lens with a slightly downward facing perspective to highlight the drones in the background. I can tell you, I personally did my best to count the number of rows and columns and cross-checked in between the shots to see if there were inconsistencies. And as far as I can tell, there are no inconsistencies. So actually, the shots of the guys in the warehouse seem real and not green screen. It's just they shot it in a weird way that triggers your fake detector.
I mean, I think all of them look legit to me except there's the guy with the goggles seems totally fake because the drones are moving behind him. Yeah,
but the camera is kind of rotating around. It's a parallax thing.
I don't know. Maybe that's true, but yeah.
So what has people freaking out? What has people freaking out is that this appears to be. I've tried to count them as best I can, and in the closer shots, the top-down shots, you can get a pretty good count. And based on those shots, I estimate they have a minimum of 400 of these drones. They have more because there's some drones outside the shot, but the shot kind of scrolls down. And both Ren and I looked for like repeating patterns that would indicate that they had like copy pasted them, and we couldn't find any. So
yeah, there's multiple people in chat saying they can see them and they know exactly where the patterns are. So if you have those, you can email those to news@fpvknowitall.com.
I would love for you to show me the repeating patterns. I've looked and I didn't see any, and neither did Ren, although who knows how long he looked at them. I say 400 is the minimum. 400 is the minimum because in the top-down shots, like these shots, I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, however many, and I counted across, and then I played the shot. I did this shot as well. I played the shot forward and counted how many rows they rolled past. And based on that, and that's a very clear shot, that gives a minimum of about 400. In the wider shot, in the room, it is much harder because like you can count here and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But as you get to the back, it gets really indistinct. In the wider shot, my best estimate was around 1,500. But I think that maybe it's really hard to know if that's accurate. So what we have here is a huge number of iFlight drones, whether it's 400 or 1,500 or 300. And we can see in the close-up shot that they're like, look at this shot. Someone has clearly just taken these out of the box. The crossfire antenna is loose and flopping. The props have been put on. You can see there is no prop nut. And if you pay attention, the props have not been installed correctly either in some of the shots. So somebody unpacked these drones. They put them on top of the box. They put them together for the shot, and they made this video. That's my opinion. Whether it's 400 or 1,500 or 200, and people had a really strong reaction.
That's true. Yeah, we got a lot of emails and messages. A lot of people were calling for iFlight boycotts, including there was a Russian video going around from their drone guy saying to boycott iFlight. We should talk to our government and tell them to make sure we don't allow iFlight to sell any drones anymore.
Okay, yeah. And some people from the U.S. Some people are mad that FPV hobby drones are being used to fight in wars. And some people are mad that these drones ended up in what they believe to be the wrong side of the conflict because they support the other side. But a lot of people are mad, and their knee-jerk reaction was boycott iFlight. And I think that reaction is incorrect. And like I said, I've got a video recorded that's going to come out later this week, which is a little bit more in-depth. But for the news, at least, we could talk a little bit about what that is. You know what we should do first, though? We should show iFlight's response. That's fair, because here's iFlight's response. So they made a statement. That's the news. Before we get to the editorial stuff, let's do the newsworthy stuff. So iFlight released this statement. iFlight opposed the combat use of civilian drones. Advocating for peace, we reiterate our longstanding position. They are designed for civilian use only, not for military applications. We do not market or sell for military use. We do not yada, yada, yada. And this, that's fine, but it's largely meaningless. Because as Mr. Huggy points out, they just buy them from a third party. And that, to me, is the takeaway here about this story. And what I really want to get out is, if you just found out that FPV drones are being used on the battlefield, welcome. We've been seeing footage, and you know, we don't usually focus on it on the news, do we, Blunty? We usually...
Right.
Like, why? I mean, I don't know. Why don't we do that? We usually just skip that stuff.
Because it's propaganda. There's no way to know who's right. There's no right answer because it's politics. Everybody has a different opinion. It was a worldwide show. Everybody lives everywhere. There's no reason to cover this stuff all the time and glorify war and killing and stuff with no evidence, no anything. I mean, it just makes no sense. Why would we put that here? That's my opinion.
But there have been, especially since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, a lot of footage of FPV drones being used and being weaponized, being used both for reconnaissance and for as weapons for payload delivery. And so if you just now figured out that that's happening, okay, sorry, you know, the veil has come off your eyes. But the reality is that iFlight, I think we can't know whether iFlight sold these drones to these people, but iFlight says that they didn't and wouldn't, and I believe them because they don't have to. Because supply chains and retail delivery are such that if I wanted to do that, I would just go to Banggood and say, Banggood, I'd like to order 100 iFlight Chimera 7s. And Banggood would go to iFlight, and they order so many of them every month because they just sell them all the time. And they would just say, hey, this month we want 150 Chimera 7s, and iFlight would sell it to them, and they don't care who they're selling them to. And I said Banggood's name because Banggood is a major Chinese reseller, but it could be anybody. iFlight has a whole bunch of distributors all over the world and doesn't police who they sell to and can't police who they sell to. And that's just how retail sales work. So to me, the nature of this story is, number one, this is happening. And if you don't like that that's happening, I don't know what you could possibly do about it, but good luck with that. And number two, there's nothing iFlight can really do to prevent this from happening, even if they wanted to. And I assume that they don't care. Like this statement, oh, we don't support the military use of our drones. But as long as we have plausible deniability, we're happy to sell them, I assume is how they feel, you know, when they're not talking to the public. And that's, pretty much everybody's attitude. Yeah. I agree with MCN Pickle. He says, how do they even have that many? 400 is a lot. Especially because these are the older V1 Chimera 7. They don't use that crossfire antenna mount anymore. So how do they find hundreds of old V1 Cross Chimera 7s? I have no idea. There you go. So should we boycott iFlight? There's no reason to boycott iFlight, right? I mean,
makes no sense.
Makes no sense. It's
just a lack of understanding of how like products work. Like just because somebody can get something through a third party, somebody in chat said if 1,500 of them went out, doesn't that mean that something's happening? Like, but then what are you asking them to do? Are you saying if somebody orders over X amount of drones, then you're going to vet that order through your third party retailer?
How are you going to vet it?
I'm just confused at where's the follow up to that? I guess.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know how you're going to vet it. There's no way as a reseller you could vet that unless it was such an extraordinarily large order that you obviously had to go like. If you really wanted to do it, you could structure the purchases. You could buy 200 from this reseller and 300 from this reseller and so forth. At the end of the day, if somebody says, hey, we want 500 drones, you're happy to sell them. And if you said, hey, you're not selling those to the military, are you? And they go, no, not at all. How are you going to enforce that? It's really impossible to enforce it. Especially because as far as I can tell, this is old stock. So my guess is that someone found this old stock in a warehouse and sold it. And that iFlight manufactured these a year ago or more. I don't know when they stopped selling that version of the Chimera. And so iFlight probably didn't even know they were out there or where they went. Anyway.
Would you mind posting that link to that Twitter in the chat? Since we didn't have it in the show notes, people are asking for it in the at least in the Discord.
Yes, I can do that. Oh, you know what, Blunty? Shoot, I didn't update the show notes. I need to do that real quick.
You want to add? Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Can I just give them? I can't give them the Google Doc. Yeah, we were so busy talking before the stream. I didn't do that.
Okay, can you post that in the Discord then, or no?
Oh, in the Discord? Sure.
Yep.
One second.
Sorry.
I'm going to real quick update the show notes.
All right, folks. Give us just a minute.
Yes.
Make sure you got all the links and information that you need.
Yeah, you need the links. Okay. And we got this. I'm just going to paste that in. Description is too long. What if description too long? Oh, good. It's too long. There's too much. I got to cut it down. I don't want to do that right now because it'll take too long.
All right.
I'm going to just do the first couple, and then I'm going to come back and make the others.
Okay. Yeah, we could.
So at least they can get this one.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, gotcha.
What's that?
We just don't have that new Twitter link in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll get it.
Okay, just making sure.
I'm almost there. I have to just put stars in front of everything because you can't do formatted text. Okay. And the new link is this one, and I'm going to get it added. Got it. Save. Done. And it's in the Discord. Boom.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
This is a Russian propaganda video, Flying Brian, not Ukrainian. I believe it's Russian.
Correct.
One more thing I would say, and that is there's a statement from this fella, Sherry Sternenko, who is said to be a guy who builds drones for Ukraine. I have no way of verifying that, but that's what he's said to be. And his statement was basically, look, guys, the only place to get these things is from China. China has not taken a side on this conflict. They sell to everybody. We buy them faster But if manufacturers see a bunch of hate from the Ukrainian side, then they may find ways to prevent us from getting them. I think basically everybody should just understand that this is the status quo and shut the fuck up. His words, not mine, not a direct quote. No backlash on iFlight. Unless, I don't know. I mean, no, I don't think there's any reason to put backlash on iFlight, to be honest with you.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah, there's no logic in boycotting iFlight over this or caring about iFlight over this. You're never going to prove they sold them if they did. They claim they don't. That's where we're at. There's nowhere else to go. Yeah. Everybody, you can buy drones through whatever channel you want. AliExpress sells to everybody. There's just no logic in trying to boycott a specific company or say that they're responsible for any of this. It makes no sense.
Like you said before the show, that would be like being mad because you saw a Russian or Ukrainian soldier drinking a Coke. Right?
Yeah.
Coke supports the military. Ban Coke. No, they sell the product.
Levi's on. I'm never buying Levi's again. You know.
Yeah, it's different if, like Black Rifle Coffee or something, you explicitly use the military in your advertising and you tie your company brand to the military. And then if someone were to say, well, I don't agree with that association, I'm boycotting your company. But if you just sell a product and it goes into stores and one day someone buys it and uses it for the military, there's nothing you could do about that.
Yeah.
So, all right. Great. Let's move on.
Okay. Another exciting topic everybody's going to be stoked about. Yeah. Okay. Next up, the FAA has released a video that shows remote ID is confusing and they're kind of misleading about it, and it's not a great world that we're going to see. We expect it.
Jane, in Emergency Services UA.
Oh, sorry, Blunty. Didn't mean to play audio over you. Go ahead.
Oh, that's fine. No, that's fine.
Yeah.
The idea is basically, this video from the FAA is supposed to give us an idea of what UTM looks like. If you don't know, that's UAS traffic management. So part of this whole RID thing is under UTM. The idea is that hey, we need to have remote ID on stuff so that you know where they are in the sky and we can provide information to people who need it, like law enforcement and other people around. That's the premise. But they show in this video a lot of different examples of scenarios, and I just think in a lot of cases they're unrealistic. They paint us, specifically FPV, in a bad light, and they show things that I think are just wrong or disingenuous. In this example you're showing here, they provide basically a situation in which there's a baseball game going on. I think we moved, but basically there's a couple different examples.
In part one of this scenario, as the U.S. and Canadian Border Patrol personnel get set to play their softball game
let's play this.
Of the farmers market,
okay.
Traffic monitoring and FBI surveillance drones conduct operations over the park. A food delivery drone brings pizza to help the players carb load before the game, then promptly departs the area. A recreational user named Danny is in the park nearby and watches as the softball game gets underway. He launches his UAS to get a better view, flying
Danny still has a session 5, so
a local law enforcement official from the Oneida County Sheriff's Department notices Danny's UAS and notifies other law enforcement officers in Rome. A federal official from the FBI steps in to help retrieve the necessary information. The FBI official initiates a correlation query with the Federal Aviation Administration, which provides identifying information about the UAS and its operator. The FBI official uses this information to determine that Danny is a regular who commonly flies his drone at this park. The official is also able to determine that Danny does not have a waiver to operate over people and contacts Danny directly.
Poor Danny.
Yeah. So in that example,
flying a fucking drone at the park.
We have a kid flying a drone at a park, and the FBI needed to be contacted to find out the information for this person. So we've had one police officer that noticed him. Other police officers were contacted. Those police officers reached out to the FBI. The FBI did a search on him so that he could get his information on the FAA website. Then they used that information to contact that pilot. Yeah, we need the FBI every time there's a random drone around, right? I mean, that's how this works, because they don't want every cop having access to this database. So the cops will have to reach to federal agents that work for them, which in this case is the FBI. Other things that they mention here, they say that Danny is a regular person at the park. Well, how would they know
Yeah, how
that?
do they know that? How do they know Danny flies there regularly?
Well, it turns out that another part of this, they show a little bit later, is historical data. Because if you're in an area that's covered by what they call a USS, a UAS service supplier, they are paying these UAS service suppliers to collect remote ID data in public places and then use that as historical data that will be logged on your account. So let's say you go fly at the local park and there's a USS near the local park, and you're close enough to get picked up by them, one of their transceivers. Every flight you have will be logged in a historical data under your account in the FAA. So when anybody looks up your drone, they'll know exactly where you've been and when.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you go back to the very, very beginning of remote ID, the original proposal for rulemaking, they had a network requirement where every drone would have like an active cellular connection and would essentially broadcast this information back through the network to a central database. And we complained about that, and that got removed, and it was replaced with the broadcast requirement, which meant that you broadcast your information like a license plate in the sky, they say. But it's only accessible for the time that you're broadcasting it in the location that you're broadcasting it. But of course, much like the what's that aircraft database that people built that let everybody know where Elon Musk's plane was?
FlightAware, not Flight. FlightAware is one of them.
It was a third party,
Flight Radar 24, maybe,
who captured the broadcast data, collated it into a database, and whoops, now we have this information.
ADSB exchange.
Oh, yes, that's it, ADSB. And it seems like the FAA expects that the same thing will happen with remote ID, that they will build databases allowing them to have historical information about who flew where, and now they're going to be linking that to your FAA identifier and making that information accessible to law enforcement. And in some ways, Blunty, none of this is new. Like the idea that a cop could see a drone, look up the remote ID identification for the drone, and find out who the pilot is. That's the point of remote ID. But it's super annoying to watch this video, and there is no positive representation of hobbyists at all. In every case, it's like, look at these guys doing a survey. Look at this guy rescuing somebody. Look at this drone delivering. And there's an annoying hobbyist out there getting in the way and messing it all up. And it's super fucking annoying. Sorry, I'm swearing again.
Yeah. One other part of the video shows two ladies at a bench and they're on their phone. And it says, with remote ID, you can look at your phone and you'll know who's legitimate and who's not. But that's just a lie, because number one, you look at your app and all it shows you is who has remote ID. So you see, yep, they have remote ID. That doesn't tell you anything about why they're there or if they are legitimate or not. And it also doesn't include the sub 250 gram drones, which will not legally need remote ID, but they think will, because they've been told that if it's not on the app, it's bad.
Right. They're going to look at the app. They're not going to see the drone. And they're going to go, oh, you're illegitimate. They don't know yet. So it's really disheartening. I know that every time we do a story like this, we talk about how that the wins that we have gotten, and I say I mostly mean organizations like FPV Freedom Coalition and Flight Test Community Association, who have actively fought and put in the work to try to get wins for hobbyists and have gotten some wins for hobbyists. And we talk about the fact that the wins are largely invisible because, number one, they are small in the grand scheme of things, but they are there. And the L's, the losses, are extremely visible, and it makes it feel like we're not getting anything. And I tell myself that, but watching these videos, it feels so disheartening. It feels like we really don't have a seat at the table.
Yeah. Also, just throwing in at the end here, I'll give a shout out to XJet. We also linked his video, but XJet's the one who pointed out that this existed, so we could review this video for you, tell you how dumb it is.
Yeah. Well. Alrighty. Well, it's dumb. And shocker, the view that the FAA has for how the future will be is dumb as well. I'll still be flying drones.
Yeah.
But
people are at there's a couple questions in the chat. Still no official FRIAs. Yep, that's right. As far as we know, there will be some exceptions to this, but I mean, you might see AMA fields getting suddenly approved, but anything other than AMA fields will likely have to go through the FRIA PEA process, which is an environmental assessment that needs to make sure that they're okay to be where they are. And as far as we know, we have to wait on a waiting period for them to complete all that, and then it's like 60 days-ish. So we're going to come up to the wire probably for anywhere that's not an AMA field. I expect I don't want to get too deep in this, but the PEA is listed to specifically say existing flying sites. There's no definition of that. So you've been flying somewhere every week. Is that an existing flying site? I would say so. The FAA, though, doesn't even agree that your backyard is an existing flying site because it can't be a FRIA. So I don't have an answer for you. What I expect what they mean by existing flying site is the conversations they've had with the AMA, and they expect it to be an AMA site. So that's why I say I expect the AMA sites will get approved sooner, and everything else will have to go through this programmatic environmental assessment. So.
Yeah. And the AMA is just... eventually the AMA will also get screwed by this process, is the beautiful thing. Right now, they're willing to throw FPV hobbyists and drone pilots under the bus because they're flying fields. They feel like they can carve out exemptions for their flying fields. And eventually they'll find out that they're not daddy's special beloved child either. And the FAA will screw them over too. And there you go. So there you go. Everything sucks. And go watch that video if you want to be pissed off.
Yeah.
All right. Next story. We moving on.
Next up. Next up we have some good news. Some actually pretty exciting news for people who've been complaining about ExpressLRS. ExpressLRS 3.3 release candidate 1 is out, and we are telling you about it even though it's a release candidate because they are doing something that people have been asking for a long time. The first thing in new features is ExpressLRS is great, but the first time setup was a pain in the ass. This is one of the main complaints we see across the groups. We understand challenges faced. Many users express frustration, and we're doing something to fix this. Now we're going to have pre-compiled builds. So no longer you have to rely on a local compilation. The configurator can now retrieve pre-built firmware from the cloud and flash to your device.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
I've been asking for this since like 1.0, and they finally did it, and it's amazing, and we're so happy, and I can't say enough how much this is going to improve user experience in so many ways.
It really will. So many people struggle to get Platformio working. There are various bugs and errors that can happen, and it's really nice that they don't have to compile it on their desktop anymore. And it seems like that will also open up the door to, like, you could flash your receiver with like your cell phone because you no longer have to actually compile on the device.
Yeah, my understanding is this will pave the way for a future thing where we get OTA essentially, like some limited more form of OTA. But it's pretty exciting, man. Yeah,
it's great.
Also, this will be the release where we get extra protocols. So SBus will get added in 3.3. SUMD, which is a Graupner thing, will get added. DJI Ronin controls, we showed that video of that working, and they're adding that officially. And some more features for 900 megahertz that were missing, Gemini diversity and DVDA, wireless head tracking, 16-channel PWM, MSP VTX support for combined units. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on here, and it's super exciting.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, looking forward to that, and people who are willing to try a release candidate can get started now, I guess. I'm going to wait, personally. I don't usually rush for release candidates. 16-channel PWM receivers. That means ExpressLRS, well, someone has to make one. Very few people are actually making PWM receivers. Actually, Radio Master just has a new batch of them out, I think. But that's really exciting.
Also,
it's coming.
So in chat, One Eye says, so this is going to make it faster to flash, but user experience is still the same. I would consider part of the user experience using configurator, entering binding phrase, waiting to try to download the stuff to flash, getting the red errors that say you can't build correctly. Like all that part to me is part of that. So we're eliminating all those pieces. So we're just carving away at the mountain of things we have to do to get into ExpressLRS.
Yeah, if you already have ExpressLRS configurator working, and you can compile and build, then this isn't that big for you. But trust me, RAP my inbox, a lot of people have trouble getting that working. And if I don't know why. Why doesn't it go smoothly for them? But yeah. All right, well, fantastic. Thank you, ExpressLRS devs. Next up, we got a video about Street League.
This is fun. This is a lot of fun. I'm excited about this. I've been asking for this for a long time. For somebody to do something to innovate racing and make some fun in racing, and this is like exactly what I wanted. I just didn't know I wanted it.
For years, drone racers have been pushing the boundaries, splitting the horizon where the possible and the impossible
it's like a Dremel
collide.
tool.
Every millisecond we shed culminates in the victories we've earned.
Sparks
we tune, we train, we expend every trick in the book to defeat the clock. But what if we had one last option? Introducing Boost Mode, drone racing's first new game mechanic since crash recovery. Starting today, you have a new strategic option at your disposal. Find the optimal spots on the track to deploy one of 3 momentary boosts. Get ready or get past as you boost your way to becoming the Street League drone racing champion.
So one of the things that I think people need to understand this feature is that Street League has a pre-compiled version of BetaFlight that they require people to use that limits the RPM of the motors so that everyone is on. It's because it's a spec class. And rather than saying everyone must use the same KV of motor, because even that, there's ways to sort of cheat it. What they do is in BetaFlight, they monitor the RPM of the motors, and then they limit the motor's RPM. And that's actually a really clever way of sort of leveling the playing field. But then they realized, we could really gamify this. And that's really cool. Like like playing Mario Kart. You know, you get whatever the power-up is in Mario Kart that makes you go faster. The mushroom?
Yeah, the mushroom.
Makes the mushroom.
Yeah. Also, it's interesting because I think I was listening to them talk a little bit about this on a live stream they did. State of the League, I think. Street of the League. I don't remember because that's also a League of Legends podcast. So I get confused. But anyway, they do they were talking about this and they were saying right now drone racing, unless somebody messes up, passing isn't really a thing. Like passing is kind of a thing, but if you're like a couple feet in front of somebody and you're both flying the same way and you're kind of hitting the corners the same, like your passing is from you making mistakes or something like that. But now somebody could choose to pass you. And I think that's kind of interesting. Also, you can mess up when you boost. You get 5 seconds. And if you mess up, you lose the boost, right? And you could save boosts. So if you're doing really well, you could keep the boost back, and maybe people don't realize you have 2 of your boosts left instead of 1, and now you boost for 10 seconds at the end.
People won't know how many boosts. There won't be like a heads-up display that shows you how many boosts the other pilots have.
For other pilots, you're not going to have that communication. You'll just have your boosts, right?
Interesting. Like the boost indicator isn't like in the OSD where it like shows you number of boosts left. Is that like secret?
I'm not sure. Well, but I guess you could get that from the person watching the other OSDs in the feed, is what you're saying.
If you had a spotter.
Like a spotter, yeah.
It's great though, because like you said, Blunty, like at the very highest levels of racing, what determines who wins is the person who can take the optimal line the fastest. But if you watch the top racers, they're taking almost identical lines, very, very small differences in their lines. And it's just who can do it the fastest. And there's very little opportunity for passing. The places where passing usually happens is the other guy gets nervous and blows out a corner or crashes, and then you take over. There's nothing like drafting in automobile racing where you can draft somebody and like pass them around a corner or something. And this really opens that up. If there's a long straight and you have a boost available, you could choose to use that boost and maybe get the pass. Or take a wider line but with more power and be able to pass. And I think it's going to it's really intriguing.
Yeah, and also I would say this could definitely inspire course designs, right? Because maybe you would make it so you can't do a straight off 5-second boost. You would want to avoid that maybe, so it's harder to decide when to boost, right?
Yeah.
And how to use it, or maybe you would.
Right, because
I think there's
a tighter track will give you less opportunity to use the boost. So
or
the
if you
track
did, you'd have to
designers.
be like smart about where you're using it and like how you would utilize the extra RPM, because you get it says 1,000 extra RPM is basically what it gives you, kind of a boost of RPM.
Much.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're spinning at already, but yeah, it's a little bit of a boost.
A little bit of a boost. Well, that's really cool. It needs to have, and I don't know if it already has this, but I think to really make it the best in terms of audience, because Street League is as much about audience viewing as it is about pilot experience. That's what I've always thought about 7-inch and larger racing. The advantage is that it brings the audience in more because they can see the drones better. Of course, people tried X-Class racing, but that didn't, quite go as far. But I think what it really needs for maximum audience enjoyment is to have the number of boosts visible on the OSD, and then also to be able to see when people are boosting and how much boost time they have left. Because that'll really up the intensity, knowing that, he used his last boost, 5 seconds left in the boost. And really that's really cool.
Yeah. Neat stuff.
What if they had oh, go ahead.
Just going to say, a lot of people in chat are referencing hey, they need to have effects on other drones or position-based effects and stuff. I think that stuff comes down the line when you get better ways to communicate that info to each of the drones. I could see in a year or two ExpressLRS having a protocol where all the drones with ExpressLRS, you put the binding phrase on the special box, and that special box can transmit extra info to the receiver to change input commands or something in these weird situations. Who knows? Because you got to figure out how do you do almost instantaneous communication to each drone and then affect them in some way, right? So,
what if you did like a boost gate? Okay, you have a gate, and the gate is a suboptimal line, but if you fly through the gate, you get a boost.
Right.
And you can shoot out of the gate, and if you're good enough to do it, you get to, I don't know. Then everybody would just take that gate, and nobody would fly the other line. So
that's interesting.
Very interesting.
It's tough because then if you're so far ahead, you might not, but then you might make a mistake.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you're way out in the lead, you might take the slower line and the less risky line.
So
it would need to be a big boost with a sharp turn at the end. So if you're not good, you're just gonna waste it. I don't know. Yeah. Or I think, what if there was a gate that if you flew through it, you got an extra boost?
Right, and actually, you just rack
you
up.
You could reload your boosts. Oh man.
That's kind of how Velocidrone works, right? Or for battery though, that's how they do battery. Is you fly through because you have to hit the recharge gates.
Yeah.
To do the battery.
J Rice FPV in the chat says I'm spoiling the future. It says they have a lot of things planned. Apparently, some of the ideas that I'm throwing out, they already have in mind. He also points out that when you boost, your LEDs get super bright for a second while you're boosting, and that's the signal that you've boosted. J Rice, what % increase in RPM is this? You say 1,000 RPM. On a 5-inch drone, that's not that much. It's at top throttle, you're going 25, 30,000 RPM. So, what % does that mean? I'd be interested to know. Anyway, we'll see. It's not a ton, but it's probably 10%. So not nothing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Blunty. Wow. Oh, we're going to have a long show today, Blunty, because it's 10 till 7, and we've just now gotten to the plugs. But
sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
Before we finish, real quick, 13,000 RPM at 100% throttle is what the RPM limiter is for the Street League software.
Okay. So a little less than 10%.
Yep.
Okay. We're going to do our plugs real quick. The first plug is going to be for my website, fpvknowitall.com, home of the ultimate FPV shopping list, which is a list of products that I recommend in various categories. So when you're looking for, what's a good 5-inch freestyle bind and fly? Boom! Just head on over. Or if you're trying to build your own, yeah, we got that too. FPVKnowItAll.com. We've also got ItsBlunty.com, Blunty's website, where you can sign up for one-on-one help.
Yeah, if you need help, you can come sign up for me. Definitely message me on Discord. That is the preferred method. Yeah, and I'll charge you $50 an hour, and maybe not charge you at all if I can't help you, or if I can help you over the text without you having to pay.
Mm-hmm. Great way to get one-on-one help. Head on over and check out the live stream clips channel, where we put clips from all of my live streams and the FPV news as well. Just highlights from all the fun stuff that happens on the live stream that you might have missed. We are real close to 10K subscribers. Very exciting. And searchfpv.com. Searchfpv.com is where you can find whatever you're looking for, whatever you want to buy in the world of FPV. You can select by region. No, just USA. And you can choose to filter by in stock. You just type in what you're looking for. 8S battery. And you get search results in various stores. And you can, oh, here we go. Boom, 8S GNB. It is in stock and ready to go. Sometimes you get some bogus search results that weren't what you're looking for, but it's a great way to scroll through different stores in different regions and find out what's available. And those are the plugs.
Yeah.
Got that done.
All right. And right after the plugs, we've got events. We're going to tell you about an event. So far, just one event. Remember, if you've got an event, send it in to news@fpvknowitall.com. People want to know so they can show up and attend.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the event we're going to talk about today is SpinUp 2023, which I had never heard of. This is apparently a Ready Set Drones event. And he'll be there along with Geeks Vana, Cornell from Emacs, and Jace from Lift Aircraft. They'll be doing a meet and greet. There's some conferences that they're having, and then they'll have a fly day over 3 days there in Cedar Park, Texas.
All right. And we will have links to all of these in the video description below. Right near the end of the show, I'll add these links to the video description. I should probably add
also, if you're a Discord member,
yeah.
If you're a Discord member, then you can always get the links in Discord. So I post them as we go.
Yeah, that's true. Why don't you do the next one while I add the next? Okay, we got a community spotlight next. Is that right? Which is one event.
Yeah, we got a community spotlight next. Yeah, and we got a drone saving a drone. One of our community members wanted to reach out and share a little bit of some footage and a story about recovering a drone with another drone. So we wanted to share that.
Let's bring that footage up. Let's see here.
From the eastern border.
Oh. And meanwhile, I'm going to paste this stuff into the video description. You want to tell us what we're seeing here, Blunty?
Yeah, just a drone rescue attempt. We haven't really shown many on the news, and yeah, this is kind of a tossed together drone rescue attempt.
He's dangling what is he dangling there?
A rope with a hook on it, I believe, to attempt to snag a drone he's lost on top of a roof.
Always risky, because there's always a chance that you will lose your rescue drone. If it gets tangled or something. Oh, such a nail biter. I'm almost ready with the links in the video description. Yes, okay, great. The links are now in the video description. Where does he get it? Does he get it? Is there an inspiring failed attempt that builds tension? No. Oh my God, watch out for those cables. He's trying hard. Dragging. Oh, I can't tell what. Why is he jumping up and down like this? Just what? Why? I don't understand why he's like bouncing back up again. What's he trying to do? Okay, you got it. He's trying to hook it perfectly. Oh my God. Okay. That was a money hook. Like, I don't know why he didn't like drag it across the roof, but that hook was money. Very nice. Very nice. Oh, maybe windy. Very nice. Very
Unfortunately,
nice.
the drone was lost in a lake 3 days later, but at least he had the opportunity to lose it in the lake.
I mean, hey,
By rescuing it from
what are you going to
right?
do? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Thank you for submitting that footage. If you guys have any footage that you want to submit, you can do it by emailing news@fpvknowitall.com.
Yeah. Next up, we've got a cinematic of the week, which is a little excerpt from a mountain biking film.
Mountain biking film, huh?
Yeah, and it's kind of a, different, it's another language, so I obviously have not seen the film, but we got a little clip from the film that is a excerpt where they did some cool FPV shots.
Wow, this guy's doing good. 100K views with 267 subscribers. This video is popping off. If you want to go check out this whole film, you can. The link is in the video description now, but we'll just check out this drone footage. Very nice. Beautiful to watch a drone fly along a ridgeline. I kind of didn't like those cuts. That actually annoyed me a little bit. The bop, bop, bop seemed a little distracting. Oh, I'm not the editor, though. Nice little setup here. And, oh, very good. Always tough to resist the urge to drop in directly behind the person or car you're chasing. And that's actually not the most interesting shot. It's one of the things that really impressed me about Vanover's shot in the Rotorite Rampage video. Maybe we'll take a look at that next. I'll call an audible. What the hell, right? We don't have to stop at 7. Oh, nice FPV wide shot. A lot of times you don't see FPV shots being used wide like that. Coming in close, circling around. Oh, going backwards. Very good. This is good. The pilot's really mixing it up. Okay, now I'm starting to get a little bit of a feeling like this is just a show reel. Like maybe a little too much. Just here's more shots with less storytelling. They're good shots, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's playing under here, but I think it's like if I'm talking in another language, but just pieces.
It's got some music. Yeah, maybe it would have been better if I heard the narration. Fair enough. That's a fair point. No. It makes me think, Blunty. Rotorite just released their Rampage promo reel, and it starts with a shot from, okay, the audio's off. I don't want to play music by accident. It starts with Vanover's shot chasing the drift car, and I was so impressed. Let me just fast forward to it just a little bit. Oh, there's me. I was so impressed with his piloting because, there it is, okay. He doesn't just chase the car. Watch. He's going against them. Now he's following them, but breaks away, crosses them again. Following them, tucked in, following, and they passed him. And that's from a longer take. And I was like, that's why he's a pro. He's not just like, oh, let me get in there and follow the car. This is so hard. He's like dancing around him. It's like, damn, that guy's good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
good stuff.
Go check that out. Go check that out. The Rotorite video.
All right.
Okay.
Got one more story. This is sort of, it's barely news, but it's not yet. This is sort of just a stop and give you some info, let you know that this is out there sort of thing. Because it's coming, right? And eventually we're going to see this stuff get published. We've talked a little bit about the House and the Senate are going to reauthorize the FAA's money. That's basically how the FAA works if you don't know. So basically, the FAA doesn't get any money just willy-nilly. They get what's called the FAA Reauthorization Act, and this happens, I believe, every 5 years. It's a bipartisan effort where the House and the Senate come together, and they attempt to come up with a list of things that they're going to pay the FAA, and the list of things the FAA has to do to get that money, essentially. Yeah. Sort of like a bunch of rules for the FAA's operations for those 5 years.
Yeah.
And hopefully this is where we would expect, we don't know for sure, we hope to see some changes presented in these bills that are positive for recreational users.
We tried to get the legislators to write into the bills a 1 kilogram limit.
Yeah. Yeah, and currently
Need I
in the
ask?
version 1 of that bill, that is not in the bills. Yeah, the House or Senate bill currently, that is not in the bills. I believe the last round of this took a year and a half, maybe, to get through, and there were a bunch of changes. It was some ridiculous amount of time to get through. They kept filing extensions to push the old Reauthorization Act while they figured out the new one. So, this is sort of the start where they've published the first two, the Senate and the House bill, but yeah, we'll kind of see what comes out of that.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Okay, well,
I mean, we would expect, we wanted changes, but getting them in the first bill immediately, I don't think was expected. It was just hoped. So,
well, how do you not get disheartened? I don't know.
I've worked with the government for a long time.
You
This is par for the course.
you expect to get 3% of the things that you ask for. And what do you do in the meantime?
But you add a bunch of things so that 3%'s bigger, right? I mean, I don't know.
I know.
I mean,
I know what you do in the meantime. I know what, but like,
Yeah.
I was going to pick on cannabis because I know you've been involved in cannabis, legislation and professionally, and I know what cannabis users did in the meantime. I won't point the finger directly at you on camera. I'll ask you to incriminate yourself. But what a lot of cannabis users did while they fought for it to be legalized was just break the law, and I expect that that's what we will see some drone pilots doing too.
Yeah, I would agree. So
anyway, okay. Next up, we're gonna read the super chats, and actually, we only have one super chat. It just came in from Alpine Hiker. Thank you for a $2 super chat, Alpine Hiker. Looking to get into FPV, DJI-03 or ExpressLRS. And Alpine Hiker, your question doesn't make sense to me. DJI-03 is a video system. ExpressLRS is a control link.
yeah, if you're asking, should you buy the DJI controller? The answer is probably no. I think most people would suggest against that, because that means every drone you have forever, you'll need that specific link. And it kind of becomes a hassle to use. It's not better than any other options. Maybe a little less hassle in the beginning, but yeah, typically we would recommend away from that.
Yeah. The only reason to use... Now, if what you meant was, should I use the DJI-03 with the DJI controller as my control link, then the only reason to do that would be if you only ever intend to fly aircraft with the DJI-03 in them and nothing else, which most people are not going to do. So most people would want the flexibility of flying aircraft with other video systems, and they would then need to use a different receiver and controller, and ExpressLRS would be a good choice. But also, many people who are getting into the hobby are a little confused on the fact that Crossfire and ExpressLRS are different from DJI-03 and DJI Vista. They don't understand the distinction between a video link and a control link. And so if you have that confusion, then the least I can do is tell you that you're confused, and then at least not here on the live stream help you sort that out. But
yeah.
All right, that is the only super chat. We have a $2 super chat today. We are going to go on to our final segment. It's Barely News.
Yeah, it is barely news. And today, the first thing we have, but if you don't know, there's a bunch of segments we go through that are typically not big enough to make the main list. We might talk about it for a little while. We might end up for 10 minutes on them because that's what we do here at the news. But yeah, the first one we're going to show you is the longest BVLOS flight on record. This is a T-Mobile ad, but it is true. And so we at least wanted to tell you about it, but it did make It's Barely News. They did a 77-mile BVLOS flight with T-Mobile 5G, and this does count, as far as I know, as the longest BVLOS flight by a drone on record.
Okay, very exciting. That is a long damn flight.
And you cannot do that without a waiver.
Right. One of the things we do in It's Barely News is highlight positive stories about drones. Here's one about a Portuguese drone that douses wildfires from above. Blunty, is it lifting up a fire hose? Shut up.
Yeah. They're using it as a sort of a remote firefighter. So instead of them walking out with the hoses and trying to douse these fires, they're having the drone do it. So, it's just controlled so that it can deal with the hot air coming up on it, and it's not going to mess it up flying. And then it can be where the people can't and directly fight the fires a little easier.
It occurs to me, Blunty, that if they were to shoot the water downward, it could help lift the drone. If they pressurize, obviously the line is pressurized.
That seems like a nightmare. You would need, what are you going to do, 4 pressurized nozzles and then have pig controller for the nozzles?
Yes! Oh, that's a great idea! You have 4 pressurized nozzles and you adjust the thrust of the nozzles to fly the drone. That is a great idea. See, I hadn't even got there yet.
Okay. Fair enough.
I was just thinking how hard the drone had to work to lift the line and the weight of the water.
Nutty Brewer says, is that legal? We can't fly near forest fires in Canada. Yeah, there's tethering laws, but also if you're part of the government, typically you can get waivers to do this stuff. So.
Yeah.
We missed one, so if you want to go to the number 2
Oh,
up
shut
there,
up. How did I miss one?
I was trying to
Oh,
just
man.
show...
I did it again. I keep
trying.
skipping the one you
Okay.
click on. I'm sorry, Monty.
There's a new drone delivery service, and this time it's launching in Norway. So as much as we complain about drone delivery, I don't know, maybe there's some special issues in Norway that this is dealing with. Maybe it's way harder to move stuff there because it's cold. Everything's frozen. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's reasons why this will work better there than it works here. But currently, at least in the U.S., we've seen a lot of these delivery services come and then be propped up with a lot of money and then end up failing, or at least looking like they're going to fail. So,
All right. Well, maybe this one won't fail.
yeah.
We'll definitely follow up on that. We will follow up on that. Okay. Are we on to the Mark Rober commencement cap now?
We are, that's correct. The Mark Rober did a commencement speech. And in that commencement speech at MIT, he flew a drone on his hat. Or not him. I imagine this was Nurk, but I don't know for sure who was there.
He often uses Paul Nurkala as a drone pilot for his videos.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah, if you hop to... let's see where it is. I thought I linked it, but I didn't.
Do the thing?
Right at the end, 1835, 1840, somewhere right in there, we can see it.
Clearly, this is just a normal cap. Okay, come on, Mark. Give it to us. He's got the Insta360 on there. Uh-huh. Let's see. What do we got? There's DJI. That's an original air unit. You can see the 2 antennas. Interesting. Look like... Hard to know what the motors are. Still have the do not pull on that brand new effing battery. Very cute. Oh, it's a little 3-cell. What is he flying? And we're out of here. Where's he going? Alrighty. Well, that's just silly.
Yeah.
Way to go.
It's cool to see, drones that more people get to see. So
yeah.
Next up, we talked about the CycloRotor propellers from CycloTech a while back. And they have released some outdoor noise levels that may or may not mean anything. Because it's a very specific test. And, what does it actually mean? And I don't know. So basically, at the very bottom here is the video. If you scroll up 2 pictures from the bottom, we've got, there you go, right there. You can see that's the test setup they had. Now scroll down. That's the test setup they had where the rotor was in this setup, and then they had microphones in front of it for acoustic testing off of the CycloRotor.
Sure.
So you can see the rotor at the top there, and this is how they're doing the testing. So it's possible this works like it will in the field, but it sort of feels like a bench test versus a flight test for sound, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And these rotors we've covered previously, they're very interesting because they can vector their thrust without actually changing their spin, actually. It just changes how the little vanes are oriented as they spin. But it allows them to change their thrust while spinning essentially at constant RPM. Is that right? I think it's constant RPM.
They can't. Yeah, well, they can do that. I'm not sure if that's the goal or not, but yeah, basically the idea is that they can use those vanes to change the function of the cyclorotors. So, and they're saying the sound pressure, at least in that bench test, essentially, is only 59 dBA at 300 feet, which is a conversation between two people.
Yeah, well, at 300 feet is fairly far, but still, that's pretty quiet. I wonder what our drones are.
Yeah, presumably that's, I mean, for the size of the drone, it's very quiet, right? I think that's the benefit.
Yeah, pretty impressive. Let me watch this thing take off. Can we hear it? Hard to judge. Sounds pretty quiet.
Yes. They're certainly aiming for that because they definitely want to provide this as an option for low noise. So
yeah, don't stick your hand in those cheese graters, though.
And just to be clear, people are asking, what is the point of these? The goal of these is to be an air taxi. So they're in the air taxi game, the advanced air mobility. And their goal is to have these to be a nice, quiet ride, and they can fly them over cities and, you know, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So.
Mad Max wonders if less noise means more efficiency. I think there's probably some truth to that, because any energy that is spent making sound is wasted and is not translated. I mean, conservation of energy, right? So any energy you spend making sound is not spent making thrust. And so a quieter motor, all else being equal, should be more efficient. However, all else is often not equal.
Also, something that came up a lot in the toroidal talk was you can change the frequency that you're hearing it at. So you'll perceive it differently because of that. So you make it the same loudness, but if you can shift the frequency, it could even be louder and be less annoying to the public.
Yeah. Oh, Captain Kazi, good to see you. Here, I was just looking at your t-shirts. In fact, I think I bought a couple of Captain Kazi's t-shirts. Captain Kazi makes great t-shirts. Well, shit. Can I find him that way? Captain Kazi. That's his YouTube. Where's his t-shirts? There we go. I just happened to see Captain Kazi in the chat, and, you know, just squirrel. Makes really cool drone t-shirts. CaptainKazi.com. No sponsorship, just I think his shirts are awesome. Good. I met him at Rampage. And, yeah. Little shout out there for you, Captain Kazi. Boring. Thanks. Go ahead, Blunty.
All right. Our next story is cave paintings have been discovered with drones. Now, when I say that, what do you think I'm saying? Because I thought it was something different. So basically...
Flew the drone and they found the cave paintings?
That's correct. They didn't find paintings with drones in them.
Oh, yeah, no.
I just want to be clear about that. When I first saw it, I was like, what is this crazy story? But then I found out they flew drones up and they found cave paintings they weren't able to easily access and photograph with those drones, which of course seems obvious, but it's pretty cool to see some documentation of that.
Nice. Yeah. Good, good. We got one more. The flying saucer drone.
Yeah, and last up, there's a flying saucer drone you can ride in. This is the first one I've seen, at least manufactured, that seems like an actual flying saucer. I'm sure a lot of people will be confused about what this is, especially if they slap LEDs all over.
I mean, it's just a multi-rotor with a flying saucer shell, but it'll look really badass while it's flying. There's no doubt.
Very true.
Yeah. Can we see it fly? We got video. Show me the money. Oh my God. No resolution. Oh my God. No throughput either. Don't look too stable, does it? Oh, it doesn't look stable at all.
It does not look stable.
This is not what I... Oh my God. Oh, wow. This is way sketchier than I thought it would be. Like, I really don't like it to see it wobbling like that. Yeah. I've seen little quads wobble like that and lose their shit. So, cool. Way to go. Way to go, China. Before we finish up, we have a couple more super chats to get out of the way. Tom Lesh, thanks for a $10 super chat. Just says thanks for all you do. And Alpine Hiker, again, thank you for a $2 super chat. Most parts are out of stock. What can I build? Alpine Hiker, what I suggest you do is head over to searchfpv.com and search for in-stock stuff in your country. and you could usually find something like what you're looking for. It's tough, though. It's tough. You can't always get what you want. Sometimes if you want a very specific thing, you have to back order it. That's all I can say. That is going to wrap us up. Yeah.
It's going to do it for the news.
If anybody out there, going back to the first story, if anybody out there can send it to news@fpvknowitall.com, an image of repeating pattern that indicates that anything in that Russian video is green screen, I'd be interested. I'm just reiterating that in case you missed the first story. Definitely send that in because I didn't see him, but I'd hate to post a video saying it's not green screen and then look like an idiot because somebody points out a pattern that I missed. Anyway, we will see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks a lot, guys.